Welcome back into the Big Trail Show and welcome into another Arkansas football recruiting report. That's Otis Kirk. I'm Jacob Morris. And Otis, some big time recruiting news. Another recruiting win for the Hogs this week. Kevin Otis, a defensive lineman from Mississippi, commits to the Hogs. A 4-star kid, top 10 kid in Mississippi. Massive win for Deke Adams. Massive win for the Hogs.
A consistent 4-star defensive tackle. And I'm going to tell you, Kevin, I'm Jacob. I'm sorry. I just talked to Kevin on the phone, so I'm sorry. I called him and hey, big tie, man, my man, what are you doing? He startled me with his when I called him, but he is going to be on here later on. I wasn't calling him about being on today. I mean, I only talked to him about 10 minutes to 1. But I'm going to read you some of they beat Mississippi State and Southern Cal for him. He visited those. Here's just a sample of the other. This isn't all of them. LSU, Alabama, Georgia, Florida State, Florida, Michigan, Ole Miss, Texas A&M. I mean, basically, all the elite in the SEC and a lot of the elite in the ACC and other places, national champion Michigan, he got offered. He could have gone anywhere he wanted to go. This is a consistent 4-star. This kid, on August the 3rd, I told Arkansas fans, they're going to get 2 needle movers, kids that are going to move the needle in recruiting. These are not your great commits. These are kids that the elite get. And it was Colton Yarborough of Durant, Oklahoma. And I just lost a friend in DeWitt, so I was thinking of DeWitt. I had that on my mind. Durant, Oklahoma, and then Kevin, of course, from Hattiesburg, Mississippi. That was the 2 I was talking about. It took a while to get Kevin. He was going to do it, and then in about 2 weeks, and then he decided to do it at his first pep rally, which was Friday. And I'd given people notice to expect something on Friday. But Deke Adams got both of those kids, and both of them to the kid mentioned Deke Adams and Sam Pittman. I mean, they said that was the difference. They love those 2 guys. They love the staff at Arkansas, T. Will and all of them. But both Colton and Kevin, it was Deke Adams and Sam Pittman. They said they're just different. They talked about family. These are kids that are family driven. And they're great football players. We're not talking a normal, even 4-star, man. These are great football players. And for Arkansas to come off a 4-8 season, all the negative recruiting, just a lot of things look bleak when those 2 kids from Parkview went to Oklahoma and Kansas State. It started looking bleak. And since then, they've basically gotten every commitment except one, and that was a defensive back out from Ruston, Louisiana, who stayed and played for LSU. And so no fault losing to your home state school. But in Mississippi offered this kid too, not just Mississippi State. But Kevin's going to help Arkansas. He's probably about 6'2" now, and he told me he's up to 300 pounds now. Wow. And they won yesterday. They played Petal, Mississippi. I don't have a score. I'm sorry, I don't have a score on that. I should have asked Kevin. I know they won, and there's a bunch of pictures of him on X of him celebrating. He even did a Whoop Pig Suey after the game. And so this kid's he's all in. They had to work to get him. All the predictions from the national recruit reporters went to Mississippi State, all of them. There was no prediction. I think Arkansas had like a 1.6 chance of getting him. And that showed, I mean, that's just like when people call me a hack reporter or something for predicting Arkansas is going 8-4. I think I know, nobody knows what Arkansas's record's going to be, but they had a 1.6 chance of getting Kevin. I mean, I'm just telling you, I don't deal with percentages or stuff. I deal with stuff I know, inside information, facts and stuff. And I said, I called this on August 3rd. So I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but I'm just saying, I mean, you'll call me a hack reporter, I may pat myself on the back every once in a while. So anyway, just for Deke, you know what? It ain't just Kevin and Colton. Deke has got, man, it's the entire staff. I mean, T. Will's on these kids too. But he may be up for SEC Recruiter of the Year, Deke Adams, if there's any justice, because I'm telling you, and he's not getting, these are not in-state kids. These are out-of-state kids, that are big-time recruits, Jacob. So it's not like he's getting these kids from next door, like Fayetteville High School, which I'm not knocking, but I'm just saying, he's going into other states and getting these players. And, and it's not just them. He's gotten a lot of other players. This defensive line is getting ready to be something else coming. It's pretty good right now, but it's getting ready to be even better. It's going to be deeper. He's getting a lot of players, and they've struggled the last year or so getting defensive linemen until this year. And I'm telling you, Deke is hitting a lot of home runs, and for them to be coming off of a 4-8 season, negative recruiting against them, saying Sam's not going to be here, the staff's going to be gone, and for all the things they're fighting against, and for Deke and Sam and T. Will and the staff, Bobby, all of them, to get these type of recruits is amazing. And so, but yeah, that's the deal with Kevin. He and Colton are coming on, and I think that's just. I think what that does, that gives the people in the national know what Arkansas is doing when they look at getting kids like that. I think it'll wake them up. I mean, because there hasn't been. And look, I'm not criticizing anybody in the national media because Arkansas went 4-8 and was pathetic at times doing it. So I'm not saying they deserve to be publicly praised, but I'm just saying. Getting kids like that will, I think, wake them up and say, there's some good things. In fact, I've had one tell me, man, there's some good things going on in Arkansas right now. And he made the same comment. He just said for Arkansas to be doing this after 4-8 season, negative recruiting. And I just, Deke and Sam and those guys are doing a heck of a job. I mean, T. Will goes and gets the Tavion Wallace out of Georgia, the 4-star linebacker. They're getting some good players, Jacob. And at the end of the day, great coaching. Great players make a good mix, and Arkansas is getting there, and we'll see how it's going to be interesting this Saturday and every Saturday from here on out. There's no more UAPBs on the schedule, but there again, I mean, it's just going to be amazing, but we may hit on the team, but yeah, but that's pretty much what I wanted to say about Kevin. It's just that Arkansas got a great one there, not a good one. And then, something about Kevin and Colton. We've had Colton on here, but something about Kevin and Colton. They're not just great players. Those are great people, too. Great persons. Kids. They really are, Jake. You had Cameron Settles on here last week. What a kid. I mean, had Yale offer, I believe it was, had an Ivy League offer. Come on here, could have probably easily could have replaced me, could replace a lot of people on TV.
Me too, yeah.
Great delivery. I mean, this kid's sharp. And that's what Sam and that staff is getting. And I see people criticizing Sam Pittman. Look, T. Will's great. Bobby Petrino's great. But Sam's the one that put this stuff together. So Sam Pittman deserves a lot of credit for it. You can blast him for the 4-8 season if you want to. That's fine. But let's move forward. 4-8's in the past right now. But Sam deserves credit for putting this staff together. Because I'm going to tell you, he upgraded in the offseason. In some ways, Sam is probably fortunate that Dan Eno's hire didn't cost him his job last year. I mean, he really is. And I don't mean it's slam to anybody, but I'm just stating a fact. But for him to hire Bobby Petrino and Ronnie Fouch, and then Eric Mateus, Kobe Smith and Adam with Morgan Turner. I mean, and the thing about T. Will, he was able to keep that defensive staff together, which I think is huge, Jacob. I mean, that's really. So I really like what they're doing, and we'll see what happens going forward.
Yeah. That defensive staff sticking together was obviously massive for on the field results.
Last year, the only returnee was Deke Adams. The other guys were all learning Arkansas, learning everything, all the stuff. And now T. Will, Marcus Woodson, and Darren Wilson's had a year here. And of course, Deke's been here a few years. But for a while, that defensive line job was a revolving door, changing every year. And Deke came in and solidified that. And man, has he ever solidified? Like I said, if there's any justice in this world, Deke Adams should be. If there is such thing, he should get consideration for SEC Recruiter of the Year. I don't even know if there is such a word. I think there is, but if there's not, maybe they can start one with him. They can ask me. I'll give them my opinion. Unbiased, of course. Unbiased opinion. Yeah.
Yeah. He's got Otis's vote for the new SEC Recruiter of the Year. Yeah, I'll tell you, when you were listing off before we got on, and when you were listing off the offers that Kevin has, if you pull up the top 25 kind of side by side, it's pretty much the same thing. Everybody that's there, he had an offer from them.
And
so
it was pretty much the same thing with Coach and Yarbrough.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, he visited Georgia that week, he visited Arkansas at the Hog Wall Hangout, and committed to Arkansas while here. And it's just, these kids are not run-of-the-mill kids. They're not just kids at some recruiting service like the top 25 schools, like you said. These are the schools that are lacking them, or the big-time schools. So, yeah, it's big time.
Yeah. And I know this is going to make some people mad, and I understand the importance of recruiting the state. I really do. But, you pointed it out. There was such backlash when Arkansas lost those kids, right? But it's how you respond to things like that, and going and getting a top 10 player out of the state of Mississippi, and then, or rather getting the top player in Oklahoma and Colton, and then turning around and getting a top 10 player out of Mississippi and Kevin is a really impressive way to respond to that. The staff doing a really good job there.
Yeah, and that's the way you quiet critics. You shut them up by producing, and that's what it's all about. You've got to produce. I mean, as I said, that's why I don't know. I mean, I don't care if people are criticizing them for last year. Last year they were 4-8 and deserved to criticize. But what I'm saying, move forward, and it's a fresh start. And they didn't have Bobby Petrino. They didn't have Ronnie Fouch and Eric Mateus. And last year Arkansas rushed for 2.8 yards a carry against the Western Carolina. Yeah, and they're like 10 points, 211 yards. They had 9 rushing touchdowns in 2023. They had 8 the other night. So I mean, this is a different year, and that's all I'm saying, Jacob. This is a different year. Let's just going forward. And I realize they beat a team that the easiest team by far on their schedule. But I'm just saying, let's see what happens. Let's see what happens going forward. Don't stay mad over last year, man. It shortens your life, I mean, just being mad all the time shortens your life. Enjoy it.
Yeah.
Well, you can't. I mean, they're gonna lose games.
Yeah,
but when they win, enjoy it and go on, man. I mean, that's the way it goes. But these guys are doing a good job recruiting. They really are. Yeah. That's not me hyping it. I mean, it's produced by when you're beating top 25 teams, you probably have no business beating. You probably have no business, honestly, beating some of these schools for these kids, and yet Deke and the staff speaks volumes.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll see if they can continue that. But hey, speaking of a couple other recruiting targets and commits for the Razorbacks, let's talk quarterbacks. I know you want to talk, obviously, the beginning of high school football and Grayson Wilson, Javon Gilmore, Kane Archer, the whole host of quarterbacks in action for the Razorbacks. How'd they do week 1?
Yeah, Javon was 15. Let's see, all 3 won.
Good.
Conway beat Jonesboro. Conway beat Jonesboro 42-21. Gaffney, South Carolina won 42-40. And Greenwood beat Bentonville West 70-35. Let's start with Grayson Wilson. He was 228 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, rushed for 33 yards and 2 touchdowns. This is in one half. He didn't play the second half.
Not bad.
Not bad. A big lead. So 228 passes, 2 touchdowns, 33 rushes, and 2 touchdowns. So Grayson, in his first game at Conway, in one half, produced some big numbers, and they won the game. And they're going to win some more. Conway's got a really good team, and getting Grayson and then getting the coach from Bryant, I think that really solidified. Okay, let's go to Javon Gilmore. He's 2026, committed 15 of 30 for 277 yards and 3 touchdowns and 8 carries, 18 yards rushing. So he didn't have the rushing value, but he did pass for 277 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And then Kane, as usual, just Mr. Kid's never lost a high school game. And look, they're going to lose a lot of players after this year. Greenwood is some good players. I'm not sure this kid will ever lose a high school game at Greenwood, and that speaks volume. And I'm talking about 9th grade on.
Yeah.
But he is 24 of 30 against Bentonville West, 281 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. In fact, none of those kids threw an interception, none of the 3. He rushed 12 times for 108 yards and another touchdown. So I'm just telling you, man, these 3 quarterbacks, and Kane's not committed. Mm-hmm. But I hope I know they got the 26 kid, but I hope they find a way for Kane to wear a Razorback uniform. His brother Cash moved to linebacker this season, is making a transition. He had 5 tackles, 3 for loss, but 3 sacks, 4 quarterback hurries, a forced fumble, and then recovered that fumble. So, he put and then Grant Carnes, the receiver at Greenwood, has a PWO, preferred walk-on offer. He had 7 catches for 45 yards and a touchdown, and 4 kickoffs for returns for 75 yards. So they all had good games. They did and all 3 of the kids won. The quarterbacks won, and Kevin, the lineman, won. So it was a good weekend for all those kids. They got off to a good start for their seasons, and we're looking forward to keeping up with this. But yeah, the quarterbacks really played well. The biggest thing that I take out of that is 2 things, Jacob. They won, and none threw an interception.
Yeah.
They won, and none of them threw an interception. And when you can do that, you're making the other team beat you. And I don't care what league we're talking about or what universe. When you don't beat yourself, you make the other team beat you. That's really huge, man. And I really like all three of those quarterbacks. I love Kane Archer. I hope there's a way to get him to Arkansas. I mean, he's got options, and there's going to be some lucky school's going to get him, whether it's Arkansas, whether it's SMU, Missouri, whoever. Somebody's going to get a really good quarterback. And not only that, like I said, it's just like Grace and Javon. Not just like Kevin and Colton. They're good kids too.
Yeah.
Great players, but great kids. These are all great kids. Cash is a great kid. Grant Carnes is a great kid. They're just good kids. And I definitely pull for good kids. I really do. I mean, the fact that they're great football players adds to it, but the fact they're probably all these kids are better off the field than they are on it. And that's something you can say. And Sam has a tendency to recruit that way, Sam Pittman.
Yeah.
He's a pretty good player. You don't have very many problems over our university, serious problems. I'm not saying they don't have some. When you get 100 kids that age, 18 to 23 or whatever it is, I guess Monte Harrison, 29, I'm sorry, Monte, but no, you'll have a few issues, but they have very few. And now tonight, they'll probably 3 of them get a DWI after I'm saying this, but I'm just saying for the most part, they make good decisions and they're not bad. They're good kids over there. They're polite in the interviews. You were over there at the interview. I'm in the room. The kids are polite. And in fact, Sam said something about that the other day. He said that the kids seem very mature when they're being in the interview room. Sam watches that stuff, what they say. But you had the UAPB receiver run his mouth about Arkansas was big but slow. Well,
secondary, yeah.
Yeah, you just don't really, no matter who you are, you don't really want to give the other team bulletin board material. And you can't say anything anymore with all the cameras and smartphones and stuff. And with the social media, you can't say anything and it not get out now, man. And the truth is, you say something, they may get twisted around to make it even worse. You're better off just show good character and be smart with your interviews. And that's what Arkansas players really are.
Yeah. Yeah. No, the coaching staff is really intentional with the character part of recruiting. I want to say it was Travis. I asked him about just strategy in the portal. And I know it's not exactly the same thing as high school, but it's the same idea where, where Coach Pittman, he said, hey, I think our hit rate is really high in the portal. And so I asked Travis, I said, why do you think that is? And he said that the character part plays such a massive role in that. And he said there were guys that they watched tape of, and I'm sure it's the same thing for high school guys. They watched tape of and said, hey, that's a take on the field. But when they ran into character issues, they just said, we're not going to take him. It's about more than that. You got to fit into the team. You got to fit into the culture. It's the same thing when it comes to high school recruiting, and it seems like they're playing it out the same way. I'll tell you what, also quickly, I caught a quarter of the Greenwood-Bentonville West game, and you're exactly right, man. What stands out about Kane is he is way too composed for a high school kid. It's nuts. Nothing affects him. I mean, he's got rushers coming off the edge all around him, just scrambles out, moves, picks up 20 on a rush. Finds his check down, and he is as composed as I've seen from a high school quarterback.
Going out of bounds, state championship game, out of bounds, and all of a sudden he raises up and hits his receiver like a 15, 20-yard pass against in that championship game, Little Rock Christian, I believe they were playing.
Yes.
I mean, just to do that, it's composure, because not only are you worried about keeping your feet bound, or your normal person would, he doesn't seem worried, but Kane does that, and look, Grayson Wilson's the same way.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not familiar with Javon, but I've seen Grayson play football, basketball and baseball. Now I've seen Kane repeatedly play since he was in the 8th grade, play football.
Yeah.
I went to when he was 8th grade and played for the 9th grade Greenwood team against Shiloh Christian. I was up there and they gave Shiloh their first loss in a long time, first loss in many years in 9th grade football. And Kane his composure, like I said, Grayson's the same way. And I imagine Javon here, but I just know those two because I've just seen so much of them. And yeah, you've got to have, and they're leaders too at quarterback. Kids like those guys. Now, they like Grayson. They like Kane. They like Javon. That to me is important, because you get a quarterback, the team doesn't like him or the players don't like him.
Yeah.
It affects you. We've seen that at Arkansas.
Yeah.
That's what I say, but we've seen that at Arkansas, and that position is so much more than just throwing and running football, like quarterback position. If your quarterback's not a leader, I don't know that your long snapper or your back, your safety even have to be leaders, but your quarterback's got to be a leader, Jacob.
Yeah,
And
I think.
the more leaders you have, the better, but you've got to have that from the quarterback position.
Yeah, Landon Jackson said it best at SEC Media Days. We asked him about, how Talon had come in and taken the team over, right? And he said, I think of myself as a massive leader on this team. But he said, in order for a football team to be successful, it has to be led by its quarterback. And that's the type of guys we're talking about here. That's the type of guy you're talking about with Talon. And it just has to be the case. It's just the way football works. You got to have a guy that leads by example and by voice as well.
Well, that's even true in junior high because, like I said, when I saw Kane that night, that's the first time I'd ever met the kid. I talked to him. I believe he and Adam on the phone. I'm pretty sure I had. But first time, I know I had because I told him I was coming. But to watch him as an 8th grader, playing against 9th graders with 9th graders, but playing against 9th graders, and he was so composed that night. I mean, they were coming in there, and Silo had a good team. And it was a close game, if I remember right. That's been 3 years ago, but I think it was a pretty close game. But man, Kane was just so composed that night. And every time I've ever seen him, he's composed. Even Fayetteville out here, I went to when they played Fayetteville the other night in that scrimmage game. I went out there and he threw an interception. But after that, what did he do? He put up about 40 straight points, you know. He threw a pick six. It got called back because it was pass interference. But then he threw another interception. But he didn't let that ruin his night and affect him. After that, Kane took Greenwood down time after time after time to score. And that's against a very good Fayetteville team. Like I told Cam last week, I feel like that's 2 of the best teams in Arkansas, along with Parkview and Conway and Bryant and those schools. And by the way, Parkview and Cam won last night. I forget the score. I think it was 27-20. It settles in Quentin. They won last night and against Melissa, Texas, a really good program out of Texas. And they were in Melissa, Texas, and they did win. I think it was 27-20, Jacob. Sorry, they did win. I think that's
I'm looking it up right now. I'm trying to see
They did win. Yeah.
Hold on. I'm going to find it. I think from the standpoint, I know we sound a little bit like a broken record, but the team responds to the quarterback. Right. Yeah. It's like these football cliches are cliches for a reason. So when you got a guy like that, the whole entire team responds. And all 3 of those guys, but specifically Kane Archer, have that quality and they have it in droves. It's impressive. There's no way around it.
That's what I like about Kane. He's not the tallest.
27-20. Just found it.
27-20. Okay. I thought it was. I checked with Cam and Quentin and wished them good luck Friday. But, but those are, and Parkview's got a good, and like I said, they've got a linebacker who's a junior this year, be up next year, and maybe Arkansas can get him because he's a really good player too. But those are all good teams, and for the most part, a lot of these kids won this weekend, so it was good to see that. But high school's back, Razorbacks are back, a lot of wins. Gets tougher going forward, obviously for Arkansas, but we'll be in Stillwater. I know we'll all be at Stillwater Saturday, and I've never been to Stillwater, so I'm actually looking forward to it. I talked to Jason the other day, and I'm looking forward to going over because I've never been to Stillwater for any event. I know Dudley and John went there for the baseball. I know some of you guys went there for the baseball a few years ago, but I've never been to Stillwater.
I don't know
if I've been past Tulsa over in that direction.
Yeah, it's a bucket lister for me. I love what I've heard is it's similar to Ole Miss, similar to War Memorial, I guess, as well, where the fans are right on top of you. So you've got the back of the end zone, then you've got 5-6 yards, and there are the fans with the paddles. So it'll be a heck of an environment for the Razorbacks. Hey, quickly before we go, you got a prediction for me, Otis? They get it done?
I'm going, Arkansas 35-21.
Wow, 14. You think 2 touchdowns?
Arkansas 35-21. Yeah, I'm going with it. I watched a lot of that Oklahoma State game yesterday, and they played a really good team. I know South Dakota State's a lower division team.
Number 1 though.
They're number 1. But I think Arkansas. Our Marquise has promised me a win. So if he's leading me astray, Mr. Marquise Robinson better dodge the field leaving because I'm going to get him. He promised me a win. So, man, I'm going to hold Marquise to it, and I'm going 35-21.
All right. Marquise
They won
Robinson.
33-7 last year down there in South Alabama, and he's promised me that they will beat Oklahoma State. So unless Marquise lets me down, I'm going 35-21, man. He didn't give me that score. That's my score, but he guaranteed me a win. So we'll see how his guarantees, if they're like Joe Namath and those guys.
Per Marquise Robinson, per Otis, the Hogs get it done on Saturday. We're going to come back to that. We'll see how it goes. Anything else you want to hit before we go?
No, I remember Arkansas went 9-4 in 2021. I'll be quick with this. They played UAPB. Let's compare apples to apples. Arkansas won 45-3 that day, Jacob. They did not score in the second half. And that team was by far the best team Sam Pittman's had at Arkansas up to this point. And they went 9-4 that season. And they did not score in the second half. And Arkansas scored 10 out of 10 possessions the other night and pitched a shutout on defense. So Bobby Petrino and T. Will, those guys deserve a pat on the back. That was one heck of an effort on both sides of the football and even special teams. Other than 2 penalties on punt returns, everything looked perfect down there the other night. That was the biggest disappointment, was those 2 penalties on Bryce and Isaiah. Yeah. Those were the 2 negatives. The rest of it, pretty positive.
Yeah. Business as usual for, I guess you shouldn't say as usual, but business completed for the Razorbacks week 1. Now it gets real for the Razorbacks. Oklahoma State and Stillwater on Saturday. That's going to do it for this week's Arkansas Football Recruiting Report. That's Otis Kirk. I'm Jacob Morris. More Pig Trail Show coming up on the other side of the break.